Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and this is the start of another weekend vlog. So, hopefully this one's not going to be as long as the first one, but we'll see what happens. So currently it is freezing outside. I haven't dug out a turtleneck and Lord knows how long. It is so cold. I live in the state of Texas and it does not get cold here very often. When it does, it's like, you know, when we say when it gets cold, it's like, you know, 30s, 40s, cold, but not I'm dying because it's cold, you know. It is now really, really cold. It is like, my phone says it's 30, but it shows that it feels like 12 outside. So that's where we're at. I think it's supposed to get down to 1 degree in a few days. But nice thing is, with this really cold weather, it means really good reading weather. I'm so excited. Like, this is my favorite kind of weather to read in, when it's nice and cold. Either when it's really cold or when it's raining. One of the two. Best reading weather ever. I'm gonna be reading several different books this weekend because I'm not going anywhere, not doing anything, because I'm gonna be in my house all weekend long. It's gonna be a grand time. Okay, my phone keeps going off. I have my my sister-in-law is reading the After series by Anna Todd. She was wanting like a romance book to read, and so I decided, let me just give you the series. It's a lengthy series, and I mean, not lengthy series, it's like 4 books, but some of the books are freaking huge, so I was like, oh, this will tide her over for a few days. And so gave her those, and she's on book 1. And so if I keep having to get my phone out, which I probably will, she's currently reading book 1, and I've been waiting for her to text me saying that she's mad at this book, and it finally happened. It's awesome. I knew what she was about to get into, and she kind of has the same reaction that I did, where it's like you hate the book so much that you love it. Do y'all ever have books like that? It happens to me a lot in romance. Weekend, again, I'm going to be reading multiple books at the same time, which I really am like in love with doing. I just find it really fun, and plus I'm knocking out a lot more on my to-do list that way. The first book I'm going to be tackling is going to be A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. I'm really excited to start this one. I've never read anything by Elise Kova, and so I'm really excited just to kind of jump in and see what this author is like. She's written so much. Like, on the inside of this book, it kind of just has like a list of all the books she's written, and there's so many series. So I'm hoping that if I like this one, then I'm gonna just pick up all the other series that she has and add it to my never-ending DVR, because that's just how this goes. And this is one that I don't know a whole lot about. I just kind of, the general premise of, she is basically taken by the Elf King to marry him because they have to have a bride, and basically takes her. And yeah, it's a good old enemies to lovers trope, which I am here for. At least I'm hoping this ends up enemies to lovers. Anyways, I'm gonna show, like, okay, so one, this cover, like, is really cool. Like, I just love, like, it's cool to me. But just wait. If I take off this dust jacket, look at that. Like, how cool is this? Like, it's just cool. The spine is pretty. The back is really, really pretty. It's just so cool. It's really soft too, but even better, like, it just keeps getting more pretty. Like, the inside has the front cover on it. It has a beautiful map, and then, hang on, my bookmark. Like, the inside, like, there's these flowers and stuff, like, on every chapter page. Like, the details in this book are really, really, really nice. I'm wanting just a really good, you know, kind of angsty enemies to lovers romance, with Valentine's Day being this weekend. I'm kind of hoping that just fits well with the Valentine's romancy mood. Last night, when I finished some other books, I asked my husband what I should read next on my TBR. So I have like all the books I want to read this month stacked into a pile, and so I showed him the pile of books and I went, what book should I read next? And without even hesitation, he's like, Hunting Prince Dracula. You should read it. So here we go. I'm reading Hunting Prince Dracula. And I asked him, I was like, why should I read that one? He's like, I don't know, I just picked one. So here we go. The second book to the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kerri Maniscalco. And I have been needing to read this book for a while. I read Stalking Jack the Ripper back in October. Have been meaning to pick up the second book. Just never was quite in the mood to do it. I think this is going to be kind of a nice break from some of the other reads that I've been having. So, you know, we're going to go to Romania. We're going to hunt Prince Dracula. It's going to be a great time. Basically, this series follows Audrey. Is it Audrey? I should know this because I struggled to remember her name in my TBR video, and I just can't remember her name. Her name is Aubrey or Audrey, one of the two. Studying to be a mortician, and in the first book it is really cool because she tries to keep this a secret. Like, no one knows that she's studying with her uncle in the morgue and just looking at dead bodies every day. No one knows about it. She keeps it a secret. And so when all these people start ending up dead and you know, Jack the Ripper is out and about killing all these women, she steps in to help figure out who is killing all these women. The banter between the characters is fantastic. So anyways, first book, excellent. And now she is traveling in the second book to Romania to continue her studies and being a mortician and learning more about that world. So she's traveling to Romania, and again, people start turning up dead. I'm sure that our characters, Aubrey, this is a struggle. Why can't I remember what her name is? I think this will be a good break from everything. Like, there's still like a romance aspect in it between the main character and Thomas, but it's not the main plot of the book, like the mystery of finding who Prince Dracula is. That's one. What I love too about Kerri Maniscalco is that her writing is really fast-paced. Like, I never found myself bored in Stalking Jack the Ripper. Like, it just read so quickly, and I found myself, like, every chapter where, you know, I would tell myself, like, oh, one more chapter, but the cliffhanger at the end or whatever piece of information was found, I was like, I have to know more. I have to dive in. So I would just keep reading, and then I found myself finishing the book in a day. I'm hoping that'll be the case on this one too, that I can just knock this out in a day. Probably not, but I'll have all weekend to do it because I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying home all weekend. Hunting Prince Dracula, A Deal with an Elf King. These are the two main books I'm going to be reading this weekend. Like, I'm putting majority of my time into these and getting these done by Sunday morning. Or Sunday evening, one of the two, but I want to get these done by this weekend. What I'm going to be doing today, I'm finishing up some laundry and just relaxing all day. Just trying to keep stress levels down. And doing things for me today because it is so cold outside. I'm going to get nice and cozy on the couch. I'm going to pick up these amazing reads and get these done this weekend. I think I'm going to watch like the Twilight movies because why not? It just feels right. It just feels right. You know? Good morning, y'all. I'm getting so bad. I'm getting better, but also just bad with vlogging. Like, I told myself last night, I was like, I'm gonna vlog before I go to bed. It didn't happen. So here we are, Friday morning. It is so cold outside. So cold. It is like 20 something, but like my phone says it's 20 something, but it feels like 12, which is great. So I'm not used to this kind of cold. It's not normally this cold in Texas. We're not used to this. But in true Texas fashion, it may be 10 degrees on Monday, but by Friday it'll be back up to 60 degrees. So, you know, it all works out. Besides talking about the cold, I'm currently on my couch where I'm gonna basically be staying for the rest of the day. I have 0 plans today and I'm gonna be doing absolutely nothing. I started A Deal with an Elf King last night and I got about 30% of the way through. This is such a fast read and it is awesome. I love this book and I'm probably gonna end up buying every other book by Elise Kova now because her writing is just awesome. It's so much fun. This follows Luella and like the world that they live in, they have a deal with the elves, an agreement to where the humans will, you know, kind of hand over a queen for the Elf King. and this will help keep like the treaty. This will help keep the peace. So Luella doesn't think that she has any magic, because the human queen that goes like is one that has magic. Luella doesn't think that she has any magic, but guess what? This guy that's supposedly in love with her, like, decides to hide her magic so that way she doesn't get taken. She ends up finding out that she has magic. The Elf King sees it and basically is like, all right, you're my wife. And then boom, they get married. Like, this is all within like the first 15 pages, and they get married, and then it's like, boom, here we go. Luella is kind of just thrown into the elf world and is, you know, just thrown in with no history, knowing nothing, and is expected to just be the queen, where it's like, all right, you're the queen, so here we go. Like, this is what's gonna happen. Luella is so freaking neat. I love her. So at one part at the very beginning, like, her and the king kind of get in this fight with one another, and like he's basically just kind of being a jerk, and like he just doesn't understand her. He thinks he knows her, but he clearly doesn't. And I'm thinking like, okay, Luella, like, come on, girl, like, fight back, you know, like, yell at him, you know, tell him what's up. Yeah, she like slaps him in the face and is like, you don't know me, and gives the best speech ever, and then storms out. And I'm like, she just slapped the Elf King in the face. Like, this is amazing, and I officially love her. From what I've gathered so far, this world is dying in some sort of way. I gotta read further to understand it, but she is definitely key to saving this world, and also with him. Like, he is definitely probably key to all this as well. And I'm interested to see how their relationship together like kind of changes. I'm sensing a good enemies to lovers thing here, because she's definitely probably attracted to him, but she's not admitting it, but it's fine. I'm still learning a lot as far as like just the world that we're in, the magic, and just kind of the rules around it. I'm still kind of learning a lot, so I'm not going to explain a whole lot about that. It's still kind of confusing to me, and it's hard to explain out loud. Still working on that, on how to do that with these vlogs, but so far so good. I feel like this book could potentially be like just a favorite of mine. I've always been obsessed with any books that have like elves, fairies, goblins. Like, I absolutely love them. Some of my favorite books is like the Hollow Kingdom series by Kerri Maniscalco. I loved the Wicked Lovely series by Melissa Marr, Wings by April Lynn Pike. All those different kinds of books, love them growing up. Especially the Hollow Kingdom trilogy. Like, that series is my absolute favorite of all time. And it's absolutely stunning. And it has to do with goblins. I am, like I said, about 30% of the way through. And I'm planning to finish it today. I really think I can finish it today, if I'm perfectly honest. I've got Twilight on the screen. Technically, it's New Moon. I decided to not watch Twilight this morning. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna skip the first movie. Let's just jump into New Moon. Oh my gosh, Taylor Lautner's such a baby. It's so funny. Just gonna do a whole marathon. Like, gonna do, you know, jump into Eclipse after this, and then into Breaking Dawn, Part 1 Extended Edition, and then Part 2 Extended Edition. Just all the Twilight today. It makes me really kind of want to reread it. Not the first book. I don't know if I want to reread the first book, but I just kind of want to jump into Eclipse and read from Eclipse on. Maybe. I am going to jump into Hunting Prince Dracula today at some point. So I'm hoping to finish A Deal with the Elf King, and then jump into this one. I might pick this up maybe after lunch and just read like the first 50 to 100 pages and then continue on with A Deal with the Elf King. Not really sure yet. Today's just an open day of doing whatever happens. So I'm planning to not really move from this couch. I thought about recording this up in my office where I normally do my vlogs, but I was like, you know what? No, I'm just gonna sit on this couch. I'm not gonna move. I got my cozy socks on. I got my cozy blanket. I'm not going anywhere. So this is where we're just gonna stay all day. I'm just going for like ultimate comfort day. is what today is all about. So it is Saturday. I recorded last night when I finished A Deal with the Elf King. Will I include that footage? I don't know. I was all over the place. I was really excited when I finished it. When I get really excited about a book, like, my thoughts are just not there. And nothing I was saying yesterday felt like it was making sense. But maybe it'll make sense when I play it back. And there will be pieces of it that make sense, but maybe not. So if none of it made sense, then here we are. But if it did make sense, then none of this will be in there. Just got back from the grocery store. It's supposed to snow tomorrow and I think Tuesday or Wednesday, which, having snow multiple times in Texas is very uncommon. We usually get it like one time every couple years, like a good snow, like where it's an actual snow sticking to the ground. Usually happens every couple years. And then every year we get snow, or just icy rain, and then like everybody freaks out, school shut down, we go into panic. I decided this morning, I was like, ooh, I need to go to the grocery store and get my stuff for the week. I even went early. At least I thought I went early. It was like, you know, nice and early in the morning. And it was like a freaking madhouse. People were acting like it's the end of the world, like stocking up on stuff. I'm like, guys, it's snow. It's fine. I've lived here all my life. Always thought it's hilarious where we shut down. The state goes into utter panic. We shut down everything. It's just kind of funny to me. It always has been growing up. Like, especially when we would, you know, it would be like, ooh, it's gonna snow. And, you know, you'd get up early in the morning and you're watching the news, like watching all the school districts, you know, who's gonna close. And, you know, and all these schools are closing down. And then when, you know, your district finally goes, all right, no school today. And then it really wasn't that bad. Like, all the ice has melted by like 10 o'clock. It's a perfectly sunny day and it doesn't feel that bad out. That always happens. In this case this week, not happening. Like, it's gonna snow pretty good and get down to 15 degrees and, you know, fun stuff. But it brings back memories of getting up early and watching the news to see if our school district was closing so we could go back to sleep. So let me get into the book that I finished last night, A Deal with the Elf King. I give this 5 out of 5. It was good. So in case you're wondering about my rating system, because even last vlog I gave everything a 5 out of 5. So for me, it is rare if I give something 3 and below. I do have a read that I read earlier in the week that got 3 stars, which will be in my February wrap-up. It is rare for me to give something 3 and under. Like, for me, I give like a 5-star. Like, if I give something a 5-star, it means that I flew through it. It was enjoyable the entire time. There wasn't really anything in it where I got bored. I didn't, you know, just want to throw the book across the room. 4 stars is usually where it's like it was really enjoyable, but I got bored at a few parts, or there's just pieces of it that I didn't really like. Whether it was writing style or just things that the characters did or just the plot, things like that. Sometimes that'll get 4 stars. 3 stars is where I was just really, really bored, but it was still excellently written, but I just wasn't connecting with the story. And then anything below that is just, I didn't enjoy it. It is rare if anything gets like a 2 or a 1 star with me. It's pretty rare. I want to say for me, like a 2-star rating that I gave once was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which I wanted to love that book so bad, but I DNF'd it and gave it, like, in my mind I gave it 2 stars, but when I DNF a book, I normally don't give it stars, but in my head, it's like, no, it's like a solid 2. I just didn't enjoy it. I couldn't figure out what in the world was going on, and I couldn't figure out, like, the New York stuff. I've never been to New York, so it was very hard to connect. Talk about A Deal with the Elf King now that you know about my ratings of books. Okay, 5 out of 5. Let me tell you why I love this book. 1, it is super fast-paced. I never found myself bored. The story, the way that it flowed was really, really excellent. It was fun. It was so much fun. Another reason I love this book is the world that it's in is so interesting. And with this being a standalone, so this is a standalone and it's pretty short. So you would think, like, with this not being very long, it's like, okay, how do you explain an entire new world in that little time? As I got into it, what I loved about it is things were easily explained, and then you were learning things along with Luella, the main character. Because of the questions she would ask were the same questions that I was asking in my head, and then she would ask them. I'm like, awesome, I'm learning the same time that she's learning. The world was simple to understand. There's still a lot of it that I wish I had more information on, but there are going to be more books in this world. When I got to the end and like got past the acknowledgments and everything, and I looked, I was like, oh, there's gonna be more. So it's not the same characters, but it's gonna be in the same world. The Elf King, you think, oh, it's just gonna be elves. Not the case. Like, mer creatures are mentioned, vampires are mentioned. You have these like animals that have like magical properties. And then, of course, you have even the Fae. There's a lot mentioned. They don't go too deep into any of these other creatures, which I'm hoping happen in the other books in this world. I like how, like, the elves are kind of described, and they're just happy people, and they just want springtime. They just want... It reminds me a lot of the Fae. I was getting a little confused in my head a few times where I was like, oh, this is like the Fae as far as, like, everything with nature. Just because of what I've read in the past, of so many books that have Fae creatures in them. But I really liked the elves in this. I thought they were kind of neat. Fae were described in this was really interesting. Like, they had like dragonfly wings and animal antlers, and it's been a while since I've read something where the Fae are described in that way, like very animal-like. Another reason I love this book is I loved the main character so much. She's so interesting to me, and I really connected with her. I didn't think that I would. I thought this was just going to be like a nice, angsty romance set in a fantasy world, and it was just like, okay, cool. But I really connected with Luella. She's so, so interesting to me. Just her sense of duty, where she's like, I have to do the right thing. I have to do this for other people. She's always doing things for other people. And when she finally realizes, I need to do something for myself, that was where I was like, yes, I connect with you. What I also loved about her is that she put the Elf King Eldest in his place. So this is a good enemies to lovers book. I just loved kind of their banter back and forth, and even though he was a real jerk there at the beginning, but seeing his growth even in understanding her and just trying to understand her role and things like that in the kingdom was excellent. The amount of plants that are discussed in this also makes my heart happy. Side note. Finish this. Enough talking about that. I'm going to start today Hunting Prince Dracula by Kerri Maniscalco. I'm excited to start this because I've needed to read this so bad. I read Stalking Jack the Ripper back in October, and the way that I normally read series is I'll start, like, you know, like in that sense. Like, let's say I had read this normally. I would have read, you know, Stalking Jack the Ripper in October, would have read this in November, Escaping Houdini in December, and then the last book in January. That's normally how I read series, unless it's like super, super good. Like when I read Throne of Glass, I didn't do the whole like one book a month. I was like, no, I must read it all now. And when November came, it just didn't make it onto my TBR. I don't know why. It just didn't. I was like, oh no, I'll pick it up later. And then it just kind of kept falling. But I really want to finish the series, and I really want to just dive into this again. So I'm excited to start this. This is a little bit bigger than the first one. When I picked this up, I was like, oh, this is a little bit more than the first book. I'm excited to dive back in with Audrey. I finally remembered her name. Audrey Rose and Thomas Cresswell. Gonna start that today. I don't have them in front of me, but I'm also gonna be starting Made in Abyss, hopefully finishing that. Manga doesn't take me long to read. It normally takes maybe, depending on how wordy it is, it can take anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and a half to read a volume for me. Plans for today. I don't know why I just grabbed this pen to do this, but I did. It feels good. It feels right to just wave something around. Yes. Anyways, I'm going to put this down before I throw it at the camera. Plans for today. basically doing the same thing I did yesterday, where I'm just gonna chill on the couch and eat lots of food and watch a bunch of movies while I read. I watched Twilight, like, I didn't watch the first Twilight movie. I watched New Moon, Eclipse, both Breaking Dawns, part 1 and 2, and then after that I was just in like a rom-com mood, so then I watched She's All That, which is such a good classic. So I watched She's All That, and then I was like, you know, I'm gonna continue with this marathon. So then I watched What's Your Number, which is one of my favorite rom-coms ever. I love it so much. And then after that, it was really late, but I was like, you know what, I'm still kind of wide awake, and I'd finished a deal with the Elf King, so I was like, you know what, I kind of just want to watch one more movie before I go to bed. And so then I watched Safe Haven, which I'm really tempted to get the book. It's by Nicholas Sparks, and I've never read a Nicholas Sparks book, ever. With the amount that I've read, and I've never read one, I have so many friends who love his books and will, like, just swear by them as, like, the greatest books ever, but I've just never read them, so maybe now I will, because Safe Haven's one of my favorite movies. I just love it so, so much. I'm gonna do a Barnes & Noble shopping time later today. I've got several books in my cart that I really just want to get. I've got, like, the Half-Blood series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have the original covers, but I've wanted the new covers for a while, and I have 2 of them. I have, like, weirdly 1 and 5, because that was the only ones I had at the bookstore. So I'm going to get the rest of the covers in that. I'm going to get more books by Elise Kova, because I loved this book so much, so now I really want more in that series. Yeah. And maybe I'll pick up Safe Haven by Nicholas Sparks, because now I just kind of want to read it. And check the box of, yes, I've read a book by Nicholas Sparks. Or maybe I'll just leave that book, you know, that box unchecked. I don't know. But it's basically going to be another lazy day. Because after going to the grocery store this morning, where it was just pure mayhem, and people were panicking out of just, it's like, people, it's going to be cold for like 3 days, and then it's going to be back up to 60 degrees by the end of next week. So let's stop freaking out. I'm going to go get some reading done. Start this beauty today. Which is definitely different from everything else I've been reading as of late, with these, like, awesome just romances. And there's romance in this, but I know that's not, like, the main plot in this book. So, you know, day before Valentine's Day, I'm gonna go hunt Prince Dracula. Sounds like a great time. Good morning. Oh my gosh. It is so cold outside. And it's supposed to get colder. I'm in Texas. It is currently snowing outside. It snowed all night. Like, I'm looking at my window right now, and there's just snow flurries everywhere. Like, the snow is sticking to the ground, which is not something that normally happens. Normally when it snows in Texas, it's like an icy slush, so it, like, doesn't really stick. But today, it's sticking. I got my hat on, because it's cold. It's got my favorite little poof on it. It's adorable. Anyways, okay, so I did not vlog yesterday like I was going to, and like I was so excited to vlog yesterday because I was going to start hunting Prince Dracula and read Made in Abyss and vlog and just have a really, really fun time. But of course, sometimes mental health takes the priority. Yesterday was a weird day. Like, I've had a lot of anxiety recently, and I'm one of those people where I just jump to, like, the worst case scenario every time, even when it's not even realistic. But I do it. And it's something I've worked on and have been working on for a long, long time. And so I've just had so much anxiety lately about, you know, all kinds of different things. And it just kind of all hit at once yesterday with a situation that was totally simple and nothing to freak out about. Had, like, an anxiety attack. And I wouldn't say, like, I had a panic attack. It was definitely more of an anxiety attack. And it just, yeah, it was not fun. Because of that, I spent a good while calming down. A lot of times when that happens, I find myself, like, I start cleaning or I start cooking just to get my hands moving. or sometimes I will try to meditate. Yesterday I did all three. Not my best day. Because of that, because of all of that, I did get to read, but I just wasn't in the best headspace to vlog. So there's not really any footage from yesterday besides yesterday morning. But that's okay. And I'm sharing this. Like, I could just come on here and be like, I forgot to vlog, sorry. But I'm sharing this because I know so many people, you know, struggle with anxiety. And, you know, I like to just kind of be open and honest and share my journey, I guess. And I think sometimes we want to hide those things about us, especially when it comes to mental health, of like, I could have just come on here and been like, yeah, yesterday was a great day, forgot to vlog. But instead I'm like, no, I had an anxiety attack, and it just kind of halted my entire day. And I had to do things to calm me down for several hours. You know, I think, you know, mental health should be one of those things that's just talked about so much more than it is. Normalized. It needs to be normalized. I'm good. I got some good sleep. It's snowing. The snow is making me really happy and excited. A little anxious, but really excited mainly. So I'm excited. It's cool. I'm looking outside right now and it's cool. Texans don't see this very often. Let me talk about the books that I read. I'm gonna talk about the ones I read yesterday. I'm not gonna start with Hunting Prince Dracula just yet. So I did read and finish Made in Abyss last night. I ended up giving this like a 3 out of 5 stars. I feel bad for giving it a 3. I might bump it to a 4 later. Like, it was really, really good, and a lot of information, like with the world and everything, and which I loved. I like the style of like the drawings in here. They're good. It's an interesting style. I will say, I don't think any of the manga I have is in this style, so I think that's really interesting. I had the anime, I think, in my head the whole time because I've watched the anime and I love it, but I think I had that in my head too much going into this, and it just kind of messed with my head a little bit, I guess. What I will say with this, it is dark. This is a dark story. The cover makes it look like it's a sweet story about these kids diving into this hole in the island to go on an adventure to find her mom and to find his true, you know, where he came from, who he is, why he was made, all those things. It seems like a sweet story. It is not. It is a very dark and gruesome story. And it's kind of hard to read because, I mean, it involves kids. And so, yeah, it's kind of hard because you're like, oh my god, these are just kids. Like, be nice to these kids. But it wasn't as enjoyable, I guess, as watching the anime and then reading it. It just wasn't the same experience, which happens sometimes. Sometimes I'll watch an anime and then read the manga and I'm like, this is a disappointment. Or sometimes, which most of the time, I'll read the manga and then watch the anime, and like, it's a great experience all around. So let's talk about Hunting Prince Dracula. I'm really sad to say that I DNF'd this book last night. I'm really sad about it. Okay. So I got about 115 pages in and DNF'd it. So I have this rule of, like, if I'm going to DNF a book, I have to be at least over 100 pages, because I feel like, you know, sometimes the beginning of a book can be a little bit slow. Like, I get that. And I've had that happen where sometimes a book doesn't pick up till like around page like between like 80 to 100, and then boom, it picks up and it starts going. With this one, I got to page 115 and I was just like, no. I closed it and set it down. Maybe it's because I just wasn't in the right headspace yesterday, and going into this, I don't know, but I was so bored. I love Audrey and Thomas's banter in Stalking Jack the Ripper, but in this one it just seemed like so much. And because they're on this train at the beginning going to Romania, which it seemed like they were on this train forever. Like, it took forever to get to this freaking school that they're going to. And I'm like, why is it taking this long? And like, for a good 30-40 pages it's of their banter, which normally I love their banter. But I was just kind of annoyed with it, where I'm like, yes, we get it. We get it. I could just be in a weird mood. I don't know. I don't know. But I just found myself bored, even when stuff started happening, like this dead body turned up on the train, and then another dead body turned up at the school. Like, all these things are happening, but nothing was exciting to me. I was just like, eh. As far as the pacing, like, dialogue pacing, great. But as far as events, I felt like we were on the train for so freaking long. I was like, can we just get to the school? Can we just get the story going and rolling? And I just felt like it wasn't. I might pick this up again at some point, but it just wasn't doing it for me. So I feel bad that it wasn't, but it just wasn't. So sorry, Kerri Maniscalco. Did anyone else have this problem with this book? Like, the first book was so good. Like, Stalking Dr. Ripper was a 5-star read for me. I loved it so much. Like, I read it in a day because I was just flying through it. It was so, so good. But this one, I'm like, meh. Please let me know in the comments. Please let me know. And, of course, the last book that I read this weekend, which, of course, I've talked about majority of this vlog, is The Deal with the Elf King. This book, 5 out of 5. This was really enjoyable, and I kind of want to reread it, like, now. It's definitely just your, you know, classic enemies to lovers set in a fantasy world. Can't get any better than that. So, I mean, it was enjoyable. It was so enjoyable and fun. And I actually bought 2 books last night, by Elise Kova, and they're actually, like, chronicles, so it's, like, 5 books in one kind of thing. Because I'm like, you know, it's a better deal to just get the 5 books in one versus ordering each book by itself. Okay, that about wraps up this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed this a little bit. You know, put down in the comments what you were able to read this past weekend. What are you tackling on your TBR? Any of the books that I read, have you read them? I really want to know on Hunting Prince Dracula. Did anyone else have that problem? Like, is anyone else struggling with that series? I don't know what to do. I'm confused, and I really want to like that series, but I didn't, and it's really sad. So thank you guys so much for watching, and please, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff, and I'll see you guys again soon with another reading vlog or another just bookish video, and see you guys again soon. Enjoy the cold weather. If you're somewhere where it's really cold, go out in the snow. I'm probably gonna go do that now because I keep staring at my window and it is just snowflakes fluttering everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna go. See you guys later. Bye.